meetup. There's only been one meetup of London, well, on the web components front in London that I've known of. So hopefully this is going to be a series. And my name is James. I'm a developer here at Moo, front-end developer mainly, and I got stuck into web components about, I guess 6 months ago, and I thought this is great. This is where the future of the web is going. I've been to other subsequent talks from industry leaders, and that seems to be the case as well. It's been backed up by Firefox, Firefox OS, and so I'm looking at this among other people. Yeah, so tonight's first speaker is Brooke. I don't know if you can introduce yourself, Sol, so I won't go into that too much. Yeah, let's pass you over to Sol. We'll talk more later. I think it's, yeah, I don't know if anyone's particularly interested in jobs and stuff, but there's lots of people hiring. We're hiring at Moo. We hire full stack people. We haven't done any web component stuff yet, but there's enough freedom that people can probably put it in the right place. Web components aren't particularly well supported in all of our browsers stack yet, so IE8 isn't something we can use, so we can't use it in production. There's also another company that I'm sure there's going to be more that have reached out saying that they're looking for web components focused people. So if anyone is really hard into this, you can go with them or whatever. So I'm not pushing out jobs too much. Yeah, so over to you, Sol.
I'm just going to use the microphone. But
You're not?
No, because you can't have echoes and it's
Okay.
So I tend to end up speaking really quiet, so we'll need to be super.
Everyone be quiet.
Quiet, yeah. So my name is Soledad Penades, but I think it's impossible for English people, so whatever. So I work on Mozilla, and that's a red panda, which we love, all sorts of cute, flowery animals. And up until yesterday, I was an apps engineer, but now I'm a developer relations person. So essentially, I just try to help you build cool stuff. And if you can't, I will try to find out why, and I will just nag people until you can build cool stuff. So I essentially kind of like be annoying to people. So he was like, yeah, let's talk about web components, right? And I was like, well, yeah, but because this is the first one, I have like free running and I can use your time. So let's go back in time and let's go back to Web 1.0. What that means is websites, cool websites of today, home pages, like your doctor will have a homepage, your mom will have a homepage with resites, and the were animated games were really great. Web links, who hasn't done a web link here? Has anyone? I mean, that was super cool. You could also view the source of pages, which was great because that way we could learn about things. And you usually just know about, and the adventurers would use front page, maybe. And then there were also Java applets that were like these little things that you would copy from somewhere and you would include it in your page, and then suddenly it would be super slow, but you would have a rippling image of an ocean or something like that. So that was the Web 1.0. And then we went to Web 1.5, which is something, 1.5, which is something I made up this morning. Which was when we started to have possible CSS. So we could change the color of the text and the link colors and the border types. So we could have like books and dots and that kind of things. And the thickness, we could also change it. So you could kind of like get funky stuff. And then we also have possible JavaScript. So that meant drop-down menus and Chromeless windows. Like, do you remember when people started to have Chromeless windows and you would get full screen browsers without any kind of Chrome around, and you would be like, what is this thing that's taking over my computer? So that was great. And then we had pop-ups, lots of them. And snow animations. Everyone has had a snow animation or encountered one of those. And you would just go to places like Dynamic Drive and get the code for those things and just put that in your page and hope that it worked. And if it didn't work, there was another one, possibly. So you could also try another one. And there was still lots of Flash because people wanted to make things work, but they couldn't because it was messy JavaScript mess. And you were like, yeah, whatever, I just do a Flash intro and be done with that. And then that was cool. I guess that was 97 or 98, maybe 99. And then we went to Web 2.0. That was the big thing where everyone had blogs and that kind of things. And then we had the dynamic HTML that became this super cool thing. And somebody, HTML, because this is something that Microsoft invented for Outlook Express, if I remember correctly. This thing became Ajax, and everyone wanted to do Ajax. And then Douglas Crockford invented or discovered JSON, which was something that we had been using before, but we didn't know how to name. And then someone created JSONP, which was a way to ask a server for a JSON request, but it would return a script that would execute in your page, and it would give you some data. So you would need to parse XML, which is an awful thing to do. And then people started to build APIs, and that was really cool, because with APIs came mashups, and then we have like great services, but services need UIs, because otherwise it's like we're in Web 1.0. So people started to build UIs, and then we built big widgets, and with widgets came calendars, color pickers, and that kind of crazy things, and less Flash. Not all of those, but less. We also started having JS frameworks and libraries like Prototype. Has anyone used Prototype? Or Dojo, or jQuery, YUI, and modules. So that was because people started to like, oh, I'm using this in this little widget and here, and I just like refactor, and then we get this kind of library that I can distribute. And they were really cool because they also started having plugins. They developed this way of having plugins, so you could install the base library and then extend it with new features by adding extra files. So there was this massive ecosystem that was super amazing because it was super easy to just grab a file from somewhere and then suddenly you have new features in your project. And people said that there was a plugin for everything, and even designers can code, which is kind of like amazing. And then we would also be reusing code, which is always great. So we had this situation where we are getting code from many different places, and it kind of works, but kind of. It was a pain to maintain that thing. Like, if you got a calendar and maybe your styles were bleed over the calendar's styles, and then you have like the days of the calendar were highlighted with a different color that it should be. It looked cool in the calendar page, but it would look awful in your site because everything was like matching, and like namespaces wasn't a thing at all. This thing doesn't work properly. So there were coding standards, or lack of coding standards. And there was also the issue with you had a jQuery plugin that is not compatible with more plugins. So you had to load two libraries so you can use the two plugins in your website. And then the performance wasn't really something that people were thinking of. Like, there wasn't this culture of preventing junking, so you would get events happening at random times in the loading of the page, so you would be invalidating the layout, and everything would be like super flashy and super not cool. Or maybe they were just not using CSS animations or using the wrong properties and animating them with timeout and set intervals, so the rendering engine would be like, what are you doing to me? I do. So also the code was like this kind of little sort of horrors, like this is for a calendar, and you open the source and you see this and you're like, I don't know, I guess it's a calendar, it's got a calendar here, but that's all I can say. Or for creating the components inside the component, you have to go through all the create element, open the chat, turn this thing, and then open the chat to the other element. And then this is something I copied. This is for changing the login of a calendar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times date picker. I think we can do much better than this. This is a jQuery plugin. I think this is not the best kind of code we can write. We are so much better than this. And I'm pretty sure that more people thought, can we do better than this? Like seriously. So they were like, so people are writing modules and they are wanting to share them, and they need them to be really modular and not to bleed over other modules and stuff. So we are basically writing components, and what those components are generally doing is creating new HTML elements that you then place in the DOM tree. So how can we make this thing easier? How can we teach new elements to the browser so that the browser can just like, oh, create a new element, or just, I know how to do this new element, you just told me how to do that. So what if you could say just like, can you just have a calendar like this, and you open the source and you can just see this thing. So that's the goal that we're looking for with web components. So if we end up having this thing, you can then just create an X calendar using create element, which is just a standard JavaScript. Or you can say query selector, which is like standard JavaScript, and you're not doing any fancy things, and you're not doing any library or anything. This is just in the browser. The only thing you need to add is the definition for your own component. So you could just go through this instead of all the weird thing of having state figures 7, 6 times. You could just set local FR. That should be it. So once you get to having web components, those new elements will be just like DOM elements. And they are building their own components inside them. Like they will create the children and anything they have inside. It's not like this where you create a div and then you add things to that. The own thing will create its own thing. And it behaves like all DOM elements. What that means is that you can append child to them. You can insert them into other pieces. Like the interface is the same. And the good thing of that is that the DOM tree, the DOM renderer can render the whole thing because there are no surprises. All the elements here have the same interface, have the same methods, and they can like behave like all things. Also, because it's DOM elements, you can just jQuery with them. So that's great. You don't need to interrupt your normal workflow. And they are also JavaScript methods, which means that JavaScript objects, which means that you can add new methods to them. So that's great. So that's the thing that enables you to do calendar next month or calendar set to epoch or something. So yeah, methods. So, okay, let's try to do this thing. And as the best things in programming, you do the things by dividing. So there are like 4 pillars of components. And the first one is custom elements. The second one is HTML templates. The third one is shadow DOM. And the fourth one is HTML imports. And don't try to remember all of those weird names because I'm just going to go through them. So the first one, which is custom elements, is the one that allows you to define new elements. So you will tell the browser, hey, take this web bell and this prototype and register the thing. And once you do that thing, you can have as many instances of web bell as you want. So in this case, my web bell has to extend the HTML element prototype. That's what gives those elements the HTML element interface. That's the minimum you have to do. And then you also define the lifecycle callbacks. What that means is that when you create the object, you want maybe to create the HTML inside it then, or maybe you want to do it when it's attached to them. Some things need to wait until they are attached, until they do something. Like maybe they want to know which parent node they are attached to. It depends. You can also define the methods and the getters. It's like defining a class, basically. So in my example, I create the prototype by extending from the HTML element, and then on the created callback, I say, I just want to have a bell, which is an emoji. It's the most stupid component you could make, but that's all it takes to create a new component. And then I could just say, document create element with web bell, and it just created this thing. And if you append that into a document, you get a bell on that, which is pretty cool. So now you have HTML template, which is the second technology. They are inert HTML chunks, which means that it's code which is dead, it's not doing anything, it's like sitting in the page until you say, okay, I need this piece of code. And for example, if you want to create rows in a table, suppose you have a form for a ticket, and ticket lines are really, really boring because they are all the same, but they have lots of little, like the value and move this line, add another line, that kind of thing, which is really, really tedious to do. So you can just like define a template for a row in this table, and then you can create as many as you want. You have to create all the individual tr, tb, input, tb, equal to button, tr, blah, 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 blah. So to grab the reference to the template, and this is a table, if you need that, if you want to append things. And then you just pick the template content and clone node, and then the browser picks that code that was inert and was there before, and bam, it's just a row. And you didn't need to create all the things before, and it's pretty, pretty fast. So I did that thing for fun in my project, and it's pretty, pretty cool, because I really hate adding creating any of the elements by hand, like that. Now, this is when things get spooky and weird. Like, just look at the name, Shadow DOM. So, I always say, like, you can see but you cannot touch this thing, or sweeping things under the carpet, because you create things and then they are not what they are to, you will see it's so weird, it's so exactly weird. Like, you have a node, this is any type of HTML node, and you can create a shadow product. So then, if you append any kind of content to this shadow product, the content that you had before will disappear. you won't see it anymore, but you will see the new nodes. So you have the light DOM, which is the previous DOM that we all know, and then the shadow DOM, which is the new thing that it's inside the shadow. But you cannot actually see the shadow in the dashboard when you look at that. Like, this is what you get. Like, you get the shadow group, which is the shadow DOM has taken over, which is the thing I added. But this is the light DOM, it's the thing that was initially here until I created the shadow. So it's this kind of weirdness. and it's tricky, but it's also really powerful, because once you get this kind of boundary here, like if you do, I think if you do any inner HTML, you cannot see the thing. You will just get this as the light DOM, so you can encapsulate things. And that issue we have with the calendar having their styles being affected by styles in the other page, you won't get that issue, because you can say, I don't want any style to bleed into my little boundary of shadow. So you can kind of reset the styles, and that's really cool for players and calendars. So you can say, this is how I want this thing to look, and this is how it's going to look. You won't get any other thing to affect that. So I want to warn you, this is not an iframe. Things are still happening in the same context, so cookies are going to be in the same context. So this is not a security boundary, this is just a rendering boundary. The problem with these things is that there are many concepts and many things that are hard to grab. Like, I created a shadow group, but you can have more than one. I don't really know why, but I guess you can switch between them or something. But like, the last one you create is the one that is going to be shown, but I don't know why you want to create many of them. I mean, if you read this book, you're like, that's cool, but I don't have a use for this. So I think my favorite part of this is encapsulating and not letting other things access my own HTML or touch my styles, but it's a little bit confusing. There's a couple of nice tutorials. I'll link to this, and I'll just publish this thing online later. And then this is the weirdest thing ever, like HTML imports, which lets you load HTML documents from another HTML documents. And people said that this is required. You just know this is like required for the web. So if you're used to including CSS style sheets, this is the same, but instead of style sheet, you say this is an import and just reference your HTML. And in your my component HTML, because components are essentially JavaScript and CSS, inside this thing, you just say, okay, I just want to load my JavaScript and my CSS. And that's how you would just end up calling the thing. So if you want to load a component, you just ping this thing, import my component, and then you would just get the whole thing loaded for you, instead of going through this horrible work, which is compiling 2 lines of code. So that's, people are really into this thing. The problem with this thing is when inside this my component HTML, you have another import, and that import has another import, and that import has another import. And so people at Google wrote a tool called Vulcanizer, so that it kind of like goes through the whole hierarchy and ends up generating an HTML and CSS file again. So you just need to include those ones. But if you want to include a thing somewhere else, you need to do the whole thing again. So they are really into imports, and this is kind of like controversial issue. There's no tutorial. There isn't much to say about this. It's just for loading things. So people are like, so what's the real use case? How can I use this? Can I use this in today? So in Chrome and Opera, pretty much all the features are implemented. When I say pretty much, it's because the spec is still changing. People are still writing the spec and rewriting and finding the issues. So don't trust that all is implemented. In Firefox, you have everything behind a flag. It's not still done. They are still finishing things. But HTML imports have been confirmed. It's not going to be implemented ever. Well, at least now. I can explain why if you're interested in that. And Safari supports templates. Pretty stable, as I've seen. Internet Explorer, altogether. I don't know. They have this website for support and plan features, and there wasn't, like, you look for components, there was any results, so I guess no. And there's this website that shows the table with support. That's pretty cool. So if it's not supported in every browser, you'll be like, so what can I do? Just use templates, which is pretty sad. But they're polyfills, so that's cool. So there is this big polyfill, which is the one that pretty much everyone's using, and that polyfill is custom elements, HTML imports, and the shadow DOM. I think they are not polyfilling the templates because they are pretty much everywhere, and I think people are even trying things on IE. I'm not sure if that works. They also polyfill extra things, like with map and mutation observers, which is something that Polymer uses. And then, if that's too much for you, you have web components light, which is just polyfilling the custom elements and the HTML imports. And if that's even too much, you can just grab the custom elements polyfill, because you can build your own build of polyfills. So right now, the safest things to use is probably custom elements. So you can just define your thing in JavaScript and maybe some CSS, because you can just use normal CSS selector using the name of your new custom element and it works. So that's pretty safe to use. GitHub, I've used that thing for the time element, and I haven't really found too many much uses. But that's pretty safe. I want to warn you, polyfills are not free. You can download, you don't have to pay for them, but once they are in your machine or get into your machine, you have to pay bandwidth and processing. That's kind of okay on your laptop, but when you run this thing in a phone, you will notice when you're uploading polyfill because things get slower, especially the shadow DOM polyfill. That's amazing. Let's think about if you're a browser, you're trying to render a thing, you need to know where the events are going and where they are coming. Okay? Suppose we are now rendering with shadow DOM support, so some things are not what they seem to be. Some trees are not the ones that are registered, they might be another shadow tree, so you need to decide where are things going. So if it's complex when you're a browser, just imagine how complex it is when you're polyfilling the browser. So you need to essentially patch all the methods in the document to detect if shadow DOM needs to be patched, and then detect when you create a child and things like that. So you have kind of a fake shadow thing in there, and that makes things super slow. It's great if you want to try things, but you need to be aware that it's going to be slow. And even more slower in small fonts. So you need to be aware of what you're doing and what's happening. And then people are like, well, about Polymer and Extract. Some people think that Polymer are web components. No, they are different things. Polymer are like syntactic sugar to make vanilla web components less sour, and it's just low balance. So they are built on top of the web components. They are these libraries that you have that make things easier or shorter. But I'll show you some examples of they are not that different. So they use the web components if they are available or the polyfills. And then they are not shipped with the browser. They don't come with Chrome or with anything. This is just something that you install like jQuery. And for example, this is how you would register a web app using Extract. So instead of creating the prototype, you would just use this extents, which makes things a bit easier. And instead of creating callback, you say, well, this is the life cycle, and this is the creative callback. I didn't use the emoji here because I was lazy. And then Polymer has more of a declarative approach. They want you to use this kind of HTML importy kind of HTML thing. So they like everything to be in HTML. So here you say, this is the inner HTML I want. This is where I'm extending. This is the name of the prototype. And then this kicks the thing into action. But you can also do the imperative approach, which is pretty similar to Extract because you have extends, the creative, they are getting rid of the lifecycle thing, they just got creative. But this is pretty much the same if you look back. This is really, really similar. So there's also this thing called Bolsonic, which is kind of new. I haven't really had time to look into that. But they are they want to have web components today, but they don't want to go for the whole Polymer thing or the whole polyfill. Instead of using the polyfill for shadow DOM from web components, they have their own, and they say that it should be compatible down to IE9, so that might be good. So which one is better? Well, that's up to you. I think all of them are pretty nice. It's good that once you use one of these libraries, if the spec changes and the library is updated, you just need to change the library. You don't need to change the code, you know what I mean? But the problem is that you end up with the same situation with jQuery. If you build a Polymer component, you need Polymer to load the component. And if you load if you make an Extract component, you need to load Extract before you can create instances of that component. But the good thing is that they are DOM components, DOM elements, so you can just like move them around once you have them. So we are not in the same situation that we were in jQuery land, where things are objects, but not quite. I don't really know what the objects are in jQuery. Maybe they are in the jQuery object. I don't know. Here they are objects, and you know where they are, and you can do things to them. So that's a little bit of an improvement. This is a great website, Web Components. It's supposed to be vendor neutral, so we are all trying to collaborate on that. I think they are also trying to have bi-weekly meeting for people interested in Web Components. It's a Google Hangout, which I need to answer. But it's supposed to be a place where you can go and discuss things with implementers and spec writers and that thing. Everything should be a good. You could start looking at things from here. Like they have tables for support, links to articles, presentations, spec. Like this is a really good place. I think I will just be done now.
So I'll kick things off. I've got a bit of a question. Should everyone be creating or converting all of their existing code to web components?
Well, I guess it depends, because I think it's better to start with a little. Like if you can extract something and reuse it. Like it depends on your case. You need to be aware of what you're doing. Like for example, you have. I think we also have a very good example with. Like they were copying and pasting code between different projects in Firefox, so it's better if you can make it a component and just power install that thing, and then you just have version control and dependencies and that kind of thing. So if you can extract piece by piece, it's going to be safer. You won't hate Web Components from day one. Seems easy.
Next question.
Please go. Okay, so can you tell me something about the relation between web components and Angular? So once I have Angular and directives and controllers, why should I use these components? Why this is better or simpler?
I think Angular directives and everything, it does its own thing in its own space, and it's not using DOM elements or what. I don't know if they end up just creating divs or what they end up creating. Yeah, so I don't know if that's good for accessibility. I know people who are working on having directives that create accessible stuff, but I don't know. I mean, there are things like React that also have everything in the virtual DOM, and they don't really render until it's the last moment. So both approaches are interesting. It always depends on whatever you're doing.
Okay, thanks.
I guess with Angular you wouldn't get the style encapsulation that you get with, or markup encapsulation you get with Shadow DOM. So if you're distributing a component that you want other people to use, and you're using web components, you know it's going to run fine wherever it's dropped. Whereas if you were trying to distribute an Angular component, the user of that component would have to have Angular and they potentially could write CSS that might break that component. So
I think there is a plugin already for Angular-material, which uses Polymer pretty much. So they integrated already.
I've got a question to the audience actually. How many people here are actually using web components in production?
In production?
yeah, right. Perfect size.
Was that one?
That's Firefox.
Wow.
OS. Is anyone using web components in any way yet?
Testing. Playing.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Just playing around with it.
Yeah.
Can I give one example of somebody who is using web components in production? It's very big. GitHub.
GitHub, yeah.
GitHub are extending the time element with a custom element to actually create a relative time stamp. So if your browser has support for web components or supports the polyfills, it will use a custom element to give you a relative time instead of an absolute time. Have a look in the source of GitHub.com in the commit log. You'll see them using an extends attribute on the timestamp.
Mozilla and imports.
Sorry?
Mozilla and imports, why not?
Oh, okay. So the issue with imports is that to start with, this is like the third way of getting code into your page. You have like ES6 required, you have service workers, you have imports, and you have the script tag. So that's 4 ways of flooding content. And then apparently the spec isn't clear. It's not clear how it should behave. The polyfill doesn't behave the same way that the spec should. So you might be building something with the polyfill and then find out that it doesn't work the same everywhere when the browser is actually supporting the thing. I think it's different in the way that when you use the polyfill, it cannot block on rendering, where the other ones does block until it's loading everything. And then they were just like, why are we having 3 ways of loading content? They were, can we just make the imports work using service workers or using ES6 required instead of having 3 different ways of loading things? Because then you also have, like, you're making the browser too complex, and then that means that there are going to be bugs, and you don't want to have bugs because it's complex already. So then you would need to make sure that things are not cached or deduct for 3 different ways of getting content into the browser. So I think they are looking into trying to build imports but using other primitives, kind of like low-level primitives, and see if that works, because no one's really sure that it works except for Google, who has implemented this thing already. So I think they're just taking things a bit with caution, but that's the official word I have. Like, there's an implementation, but it's behind a flag and it's not completed.
I think a lot of times, especially from Google, there's a lot of emphasis put on imports as being like, you can't use web components without additional imports, but I don't know, in my opinion, I think like custom elements for me are like 90% of what makes web components exciting. Then you've got this other stuff you can stack on top, which makes them a bit nicer to use. Like Shadow DOM, you don't have to use Shadow DOM to make a web component. You don't have to use imports to use a web component. They're all kind of just convenience. But you can go ahead, like GitHub app, just go ahead and use custom elements today, like down to the IE9. And then if you need that other stuff, then start using it. But at the moment, I think there's just a lot of unknowns around imports, and they don't seem to integrate with any existing dependency management solutions that people are using. So you can just easily write your components in JavaScript and put that JS file on top of your page, like you do already with code.
I just thought I could show you something I made with web components. So this is a synthesizer, and it's using. So you have the audio context. It's got an audio chain, and there's a synthesizer in here.
Make it text a little bit.
Yes, I can. Okay, and I can hide this thing as well. So bigger. Wow, what did happen here? Maybe, nope. Why is this? Go away. Okay, whatever. So this is easier. Okay, so this is a synthesizer, and there is an oscilloscope, which is this thing here, which is this thing. Like the synthesizer is this thing, and this is all using custom elements. And I also have a keyboard, so I can just play things here. Oh, not playing, whatever. If we didn't have the projector connected, it would
No, I
sound.
think you can change the input source.
Okay,
Tip.
that's okay. That's
No,
totally irrelevant.
it's not going to be the same without.
Ah. Okay, so get ready for the synthesizer. It's not too loud, but yeah, whatever. But the good thing is that that's all like encapsulated, and you can have many keyboards if you wanted. I don't know if I can even create. So, where it is? What happened here? Yeah, I don't know if I need to create. I haven't touched this thing in a year, so I don't really remember how it works. But yeah, I mean, you can use the GitHub thing for time, or you can go crazy and build synthesizers with components like I did. So I mean, there are too many things you can do, but I guess we need to. I mean, this thing doesn't use Shadow DOM or templates or anything. This is just using custom elements. I'm creating everything with JavaScript, which is maybe a bit crazy, but I did a thing. And then the CSS is a external file, so you don't need to go too weird to build things that are encapsulated. So that was just an example.
I'm just going to step back into an example I've seen of web components. Adi Osami is big into web components by I guess everything, if you don't know him. And if you go and look at some of the examples out there, it's the same with Angular code. You load up an HTML file and you'll just have one tag in there. And that's the bootstrap to everything. And inside that, you just have to go through nested layers. That to me feels like going backwards a bit. Going back to sort of Java Applets where it's got hidden world behind it. To me personally, I'm just expressing my opinion, I think web components work particularly well on a GitHub example, where they just extended an existing attribute, provided a bit more value on something already there. So in my mind, web components works particularly well just as a bit of progressive enhancement to existing websites. But I guess once you start, it's quite addictive. And also you start sort of interleavering things, oh, this thing depends on that other module, so I'll just bundle them together. I think there needs to be some maturity in this world of web components to use it sensibly.
Yeah, I mean, it depends if you're just sharing a widget. You need to make your whole app into the widget. But I don't know, I think people are creating the whole app because they think, like, the whole app is just one component because they think that's going to be better for security or something. But seriously, it's not an iframe. It's just in the same place. The cookies are in the same place and everything. So, I don't know. I guess it's just like, because you can do that, you do it. But I'm not a big fan of that.
Mini Synthol Bell on GitHub.
Sorry?
Mini Synthol Bell on GitHub.
Oh, the Minisynth is on GitHub, but the bell is not. It's too simple. But I mean, it's just like 3 or 4 lines.
I know it's quite new, but any input with SEO and accessibility, or it's all fine? It's just
Yeah, that's the thing. When you tuck everything into just one tab, the SEO is like nothing. Well, but if you extend elements, you still have like, you're still using HTML element, but you can say is something, which is the new definition, and it kind of like gives it new powers or new features, but you still get Google to create your text or your thing. But also, don't confuse websites with web apps. So you might want to get your web app to be SEO indexed, but maybe it doesn't make sense. Like maybe you want to have your header or your title or whatever, but or the UI, I don't know, it doesn't really make sense. I think sometimes we try to insist on the accessibility or the SEO more than the accessibility thing, and it's like, well, it doesn't really work because you're creating everything with JavaScript, so how are you going to index that thing? So web components are pretty much JavaScript often, so depends.
I've seen some good examples. They're not out there there's not many of them, but the best SEO solution I've seen to that problem is that you have a custom element and then you put your content inside it with an ordinary HTML because the search engines will ignore the tags they don't understand and then just go and dig straight down into the actual content. It's just making good use of that content inside of your web component makes it as a custodian to that package just a little bit harder than doing it all yourself in code.
I guess with the improvement of Google search with the JavaScript reading, that's really something. I'm not sure.
Google executes all your JavaScript anyway.
Well, not all, isn't it? It's not all.
Sometimes you can make your content kind of more semantic with Shadow DOM because you can omit all the elements that we use for like presentation and shove them in the Shadow DOM and leave just the real content in the light DOM, and then so then what you'd see, what screen reader, or not necessarily a screen reader, but I guess when you're being crawled by a bot or something, I guess it's a lot clearer like what's content and what's not. But we ran into an issue like when we were shipping the first web component Firefox OS, that we found that one of the we had a button inside the Shadow DOM, and we found that the screen reader, like when the user would normally tap the things on the screen and it would read back like button or title or something like that, but we found that the buttons inside the Shadow DOM were ignored, and we were like, oh god, we can't ship this, we've got to revert all the changes, and then but then someone landed a patch, like it's one of the accessibility people landed a patch which pulls the Shadow DOM content into the accessibility tree or render tree or something like that, which means that then all that content is readable by someone using screen reader. So there's nothing really to worry about.
Is there any other questions before I go and stick my next one in? I noticed on there Xtags sounds a bit ugly. If I spare my opinion of Xtags, which is the Mozilla version of what Google.
Well, yeah, that was started by someone who worked at Mozilla.
Yeah, that's right. But you don't need to use X-module name, or do you? Can I just go and create a James element?
Oh, you can create whatever you want, as long as it's got an hyphen. Like you can, I think at some point I've created a solid whatever. So it's kind of like pretty ego. Yeah, as long as it's got a hyphen, they have to have a hyphen because otherwise you would be able to register components that already exist, which is not a good idea. So you need to always have the hyphen, but the prefix is whatever. I mean, people are using that for namespaces. So you have the material dash something, or in Firefox, so the presentation layer is called Gaia, so they have Gaia something. So it's a way of cheap namespacing. But there are issues with that as well. Like once you register one of those, you're gonna have two versions of the same component because it's already been registered. So it's interesting issues coming up.
Yeah. There's some discussions about whether, I don't know if anyone is actually doing this, but whether or not you should just expose like the prototype and allow the user of the component to register it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
Yeah,
something that will emerge as a best practice, or if there's a reason it's better to contain the document register element inside the module itself. Because I guess in a way, like when you're in Node and you go var something equals require something, you can change the name of that, change the name of the thing as you put it in, so that won't conflict with any of the variables you had in modules. So in the same way, that might be interesting to think of that maybe as a best practice, but there'll probably be issues with that as well. So I'm not really sure.
Yeah, things depend on other things. Like I've played with that. Like I've got some modules for music, UI stuff, and I offer like when you require the module, I also expose a method called register. So you can register the name of the module or maybe of the component at that point. But for example, in the case of this synth here, I think the synth depends on the oscillator. So you will need to make sure that you know how the oscillator is called or require the oscillator component using the same required thing. So with dependencies, it gets a bit fussy because you need to create the element by some name. So you know how to. Unless you use a constructor, I guess, that you get when you create the thing. But no, you still need to register. So yeah, there's no way. You need to know how it's called. Yeah, I think with web components that they are new, like maybe they were created 2 or 4 years ago. They're based on a long story of trying to make things modular, but there are so many questions. Like I was preparing this thing and I was like, wow, I've got more questions than things that I need to explain. So once you start doing things, you're like, why is this thing this way? And could it be this other way? And I think the spec writers and the browsers implemented, they're very interested in hearing feedback from users because they don't write apps, they write browsers. So they don't know what your needs are and they need feedback from people. So if you've got questions or you're trying to do something and it doesn't really work the way you want it, you should go through any of the mailing lists or ping people like, I don't know, ping Wilson or ping me. And let us know because we would like to get your feedback because sometimes you read things in the spec and you're like, this is weird and I don't know why, but then you come with an example and I'm like, okay, I know why it's weird because if someone wants to do this particular thing, this doesn't feel like it can work. So this is the kind of external input that we need because otherwise it's just like, we try to do things the way we know and we are not you, so we are not doing the same things that you're doing and we are not going to have the same issues that you have. So this is new and there are going to be errors and it's going to be messy, but it's going to be fun.
I'll just plug in there that I think you didn't mention it, but I've heard from, I think it's the W3C, I forget if it's the W3C or some of the W3 working groups, they're going to be looking at what the community has as output from web components, rather than sort of focusing on their own proprietary tags and functionality. I think they're hoping to kind of like see what jQuery have done as kind of guided some of the modern principles of JavaScript in browsers. So let's just hope people take it on a bit more. as well, rather than it flailing away and allowing Angular or React to win in isolation. But just on the subject of things like React, they are using lots of web components fundamentals that Sol touched on, the pillars. So they're going to try and use, I can't remember what they're called now, mutation observers, which is just allowing you to inspect an object to see if any of its properties have changed, which is quite computationally expensive in things like Angular to monitor changes. And custom elements, because React, Angular, I think other things as well, have some notion of custom elements, so why not use the spec? So while you might not be actively using it in code, if you're using those frameworks in the future, you'd probably be under the hood be using it, if it's got support for it. Sorry to rain.
I will say that with React, you do have the advantage that if you're using immutable data structures as your state, then yeah, mutation observer side of it is extremely fast.
Can I just follow up the earlier audience question? The people are experimenting. Are they experimenting with vanilla web components, or Polymer, or Xtags?
Just the polyfill.
I've been using Polymer myself, and I absolutely love it. I think, when I've looked at examples of vanilla web components, it looks like you need to do a lot of code to reach the same effect.
Is that the vanilla that one that you have to use the JavaScript to integrate it again? To just say we have that, so you use the tag. Is that it?
You can do that.
Is that the way that works?
Yeah, like document.register.
Sort of like you do with Angular.
Yeah.
There's something for IE to just have to tell.
Yeah, at some point you have to
Just
say,
get
you're going to use this thing. This is the definition.
Using Polymer instead of vanilla would be like using jQuery instead of JavaScript.
I mean, in Polymer, they have their own sort of version of doing jQuery-like things. There's this magical dollar syntax that hands off to this statement, which allows you easy access to ID elements and other things like that. But then it starts throwing into the question, do you use jQuery as well with these web components you're building, and how do you import that, and how do you set that as a dependency, and then are you not back in the old world again of having kind of scattered dependencies with no real conformity to it?
Well, that's the word. It's messy.
Did that answer your question? Are you using it yourself?
Only personal experimentation. Similarly, I don't use Polymer so far.
Cool. So any more questions? Before we
Last chance.
Can you show any real world examples, particularly large scale? Do they exist?
There isn't, I don't know, this is a real world example.
Google on their site?
Sorry? What?
Google on their
I can't hear you.
Google I/O.
Okay, yeah, maybe, yeah. I have network, so I can show you.
Do you not? Okay.
No, you didn't give me the password.
We can have a look.
But that's.
If you want, but actually, Google.
I think Google has that website for component support.
Material?
No.
If you actually go to
It's
the
one for
Polymer documentation, actually uses web components. So you
Yeah.
can just go and look in the source for how they do it. It's, yeah.
The Google I/O website was built using Polymer, and Paul Kinlan, who built it, released a very good 20-minute video of how he built it. So if you do a quick search for Paul Kinlan and Google I/O, you'll find a video on YouTube of how he built it using
I
Polymer.
think they have the platform support dashboard, which is built with Google components as well.
Please.
Yeah, it's, I think if some of Google's properties, like some of their advertising sites, are also offering experimental web components versions. So that just means you don't have to rely on these kind of custom elements and custom divs in the page with some JavaScript holding it together. So that's interesting to see. I think they make quite good use cases where you kind of essentially want an iframed environment, but with a bit more control. Stylistically.
Well, and then Wilson is building this whole operating system with web components, which is called Firefox. So all the elements now are using, not all the elements, but pretty much all the UI things are using web components.
Yeah, so
Complex
previously we just used CSS, and everyone had like shared CSS, and they had to, which was fine when you're doing simple stuff like buttons, but then when it got more advanced, like to menus and overlays and stuff like that, it meant that firstly the user would have to write a lot of markup and get that markup exactly right, kind of like a jQuery plugin. They'd have to get the markup exactly right for it to look and behave how it was designed to. But also, that if the component didn't quite do what they wanted it to do, they'd write their own CSS to change that component. And then when we upgrade the component, it would just break because they're overriding the style. So we just had no encapsulation. So yeah, for upcoming, we've like last release we experimented with one component, which was just like the app header bar. We called that guy a header. And that took like quite a lot of work because we had to go back and forth with platform, like fixing bugs and all this kind of stuff as we ran into them. But with the next release, we're hoping to replace all of the old CSS components with web components, which hopefully will be a lot easier for everyone.
How many components is that?
10 to 15 different components. From like text input fields, buttons, switches, checkboxes, overlays, yeah. So,
It would be great if you could, when you encapsulate something, you'll be able to define if you want to use the CSS for that encapsulation, or if you want to use something external. So you can have as an attribute, so someone could do that without breaking. Because then you could use that, but it's never going to be overwritten.
Yeah.
So you could add some extra attributes.
There's some stuff in like the Shadow DOM. There's stuff in the early Shadow DOM spec where it allowed authors to define their own pseudo selectors. So you know how you have like active and hover and all those kind of things, which would allow the user of the component to style like internal pieces, which I thought was a really cool part of the spec. But it's I think it hasn't been implemented. I think it might have been dropped, but I think there's still a need for it. So there might end up something like that coming back in. But there's also the shadow and deep selectors which will allow a user to like penetrate into the encapsulated markup and make style changes there. But in a way that's kind of dangerous because then we're back to the same problem we had with when we would just have CSS, because if the component doesn't quite work, the user will just like fix it, but then they don't really know what they're breaking if that then changes. So I much prefer the author offering up almost an interface, an API for styling. I think that's good. Hopefully that'll come back into the spec at some point.
Super, thanks. So I guess there's a pub just outside. If anyone does want to go for a drink, I'm going to pop over there certainly. There's the Old King's Head, which is